You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode,
we're scooting around in Fab Facts.
We're getting lost in the desert in the Randomiser.
And it's the final part of our interview with Lloyd Scott.
What a legend. That's all coming up in Pod 255
of the Gerry Anderson and Elaine podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Well, hello there.
Oh, hello.
How are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
Ooh,
Oh, God, I'm sorry I asked.
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Phew.
I am former 10-year-old irritant Jamie Anderson.
Yes. Well, so am I then. In that case, I'm a former 10-year-old irritant too.
Yeah, but you knew me when I was a 10-year-old
That's true.
irritant,
That's true.
and I didn't know you then. So
Yes, I'm a 54-year-old seasoned veteran actor and writer. Richard James. You didn't say your name though, did you?
did I not? Sorry.
You just said you were a former 10-year-old irritant.
Okay, yes, now known as Jamie Anderson.
There you go. Yes, and I'm Richard James.
Yes, and also we are joined by our extra special guest.
Yeah. Oh, Elaine, yes.
No, actually, I meant Chris Dale. I mean,
yes.
Elaine, yes, obviously,
Of course,
from
yes,
last
yes.
week's
I think she'll just be
PowerPoints.
sort of hovering in the background from now on.
Yeah, I'm not sure we need any more PowerPoints this episode, but
let's not do that again.
Don't go away, Elaine. But next to Elaine, Chris Dale, also known as Chris Dalek on Twitter, or the Randomeister by Podsterons.
Yep.
And if you feel like I'm speaking in code, you must be new here. But that also means you're a Podsteron because you're here and you're listening, and we're in your ears, making them slightly clammy from your headphones. So sorry,
whether you like
that's
it or
what
not.
we do.
You didn't even ask for it, but we're making your ears clammy, whether you like it or not.
So, Richard James, if you would like to do the honours and tell us what's coming up in this episode of the Gerry Anderson podcast, giving each section an ear clamminess rating out of 10.
Oh, right. Okay. Fab Facts will be coming up in just a moment. Ear clamminess rating 7.5. We then have news from the Gerry Anderson universe in a little section we like to call the Gerry Anderson News. Clammy ear rating 8.7. We've got the third part of your interview with Jake Lloyd coming up a little later on as well. Clamminess rating 9.8. And as you mentioned, the Randomiser will be here a little later on, featuring Chris Dale, with a clammy ear rating of 3.497.
Why
But
so low?
in between all of that, of course, we've been hearing from you. Yes, you, our lovely Podsterons, who have been emailing us at... Pardon?
Them?
Yes,
yes.
all of them.
Yes,
well, some
sorry.
of them.
Yeah.
Podcast at gerryanderson.com, and they've also been commenting on our Facebook group, and they've been tweeting us on Twitter, hashtagging us Gerry Anderson Podcast, and tagging me, Richard N. James, him over there, I'm Jamie Anderson, and him over there at Chris Dalek. Elaine doesn't get a look in on the Twitter, I have to say.
Well, maybe she'll sign up.
But the Podsterons, in total, I would say, have an ear clamminess rating of a perfect 10.
Of course they do. Only one at a time, though.
Oh, well, I would think so, yes.
Yes. Now, I think I heard you refer to our interviewee as Jake Lloyd then.
What did I say?
I don't know who Jake Lloyd is.
Right, okay.
But instead, he'll be replaced with Lloyd Scott in the third part of his interview.
Who on earth is Jake Lloyd?
I don't know.
That's strange, isn't it?
Shall I ask ChatGPT?
Yes, okay, if they're to hand.
Is
Jake Lloyd.
Lloyd.
And, is he interested in being an interviewee on the Gerry Anderson podcast?
Well, do you know he might?
Right.
Jake Lloyd is a former American actor who's best known for playing the role of young Anakin Skywalker in
You're
Star Wars
joking.
Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
How very strange.
Born the 5th of March 1989 in Fort Collins, Colorado, began acting at a young age.
Right.
In addition to Star Wars, he's also appeared in other films such as Jingle All the Way and Madison.
Well, get him on.
After his acting career, he decided to pursue other interests and retired from acting and has mainly stayed out of the public eye. But you never know, he might come on.
Jake Lloyd.
For this.
Yeah. Great. I like the idea that I just mentioned random names at the beginning of a podcast and then we find out who they are and try and get them on the podcast.
was brilliant. Oh, dear. Anyway, good. Right, first Elaine and now Jake Lloyd. But actually, we'll be hearing from Lloyd Scott, who is doing amazing work.
Sorry, Lloyd.
With raising money, running marathons in crazy costumes, including his most recent one, Captain Scarlet.
Yeah. Lovely. How could I get that wrong? Funny, isn't it? I have been reading a lot of Star Wars stuff recently.
Well, maybe it was that, but I love it. I'm very happy we found ourselves there. Now, starting things, in a gentle but clammy way. Shall we go straight into a bit of I was going to say a moist fab fact. I don't mean that. Just a fab fact. Should we do that?
Standing by with a wet wipe.
Here we go.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Yes, indeed. Don't worry, it's a standard issue fab fact.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the thumb might cause us some problems, but basically, I've got a book of fab facts. There it is. There was me flicking through it.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
I flick through it, and at a random point in time, Richard shouts fab. Normally, while I'm flicking, he doesn't wait until the end. Please don't do that. That'd be weird. And then I'll stop flicking, and hopefully on the page that I happen upon will be a fab fact.
Great.
Clear?
Come on, then. Yes, very clear.
Good. Then here comes the flick.
Here comes the fab.
Oof, you threw me off there because you said other things than fab before.
I did.
But it's fine. Okay. Well, we're looking at live action shows.
Excellent.
We're in the late 1960s, early 1970s.
Brilliant.
In Dad's first live action series, UFO, there are, I'm sure you will agree, quite a lot of futuristic vehicles.
But just one or two, yeah.
Well, Skydiver, for example, and obviously it's attached Sky 1 or whatever Sky number, moon-based interceptors, Airstraker's car, and a weird little personal transport scooter.
Oh, okay.
You may not be familiar with the one, but I'm talking about the single-occupant vehicle that cruises the halls of Shadow HQ, although I always feel weird to say Shadow HQ because that's Supreme Headquarters, Alien Defense Organization headquarters, but you know exactly what I mean. Now, if you've seen the first episode, Identified, you'll know what I mean instantly. It has 4 wheels and a sleek design and sits low to the floor. Basically, it's a moving chair that travels up and down the corridors at, walking pace.
Great.
Now, as the series goes on, it is seen less and less frequently, and it's probably because the idea of a personal transport device like this was a holdover from the Super Mario Nation days, of course, where the puppets couldn't really walk terribly convincingly, needed these devices to get around in a way that looked futuristic.
Right.
Obviously, we had hover bikes and jetmobiles and moving walkways and all sorts of stuff, anything to avoid them walking. The production team and Dad decided to try and experiment with having similar vehicles in UFO, but the results must have been deemed to be unsuitable. But after all, I suppose that makes sense because the corridors of Shadow didn't exactly have high-speed lanes. So if you can't go faster than walking pace in your vehicle, why not just walk, maybe?
Yes.
I mean, perhaps in some alternate universe, Shadow was full of high-speed carts clattering around the control room and the brake room and back at 100 miles an hour, but we will never know for sure, seeing as we're in this universe. So it was a bit of a kind of an abandoned idea. It feels very much a bit like the, what was that awful invention? The little kind of personal transport bike thing. Do you know what I mean?
From what? Oh, the Sinclair.
Sinclair C5.
C5? Yes, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
A little bit like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Feels like that era when we're all sort of, we won't have to put any effort in anymore. We'll just coast around on robotically driven vehicles, which are expensive to maintain, break down, and only go at walking pace.
Yeah.
So there we go. A nice idea, and I guess they must have got into their heads during the Super Mario Nation era that these things were kind of a signifier of science fiction.
Okay.
Of living in the future.
Yeah.
Did you have any of those in Space Precinct?
No, I don't think so. No.
I mean, any pointless things in Space Precinct. I mean, the fact that
apart from Lou Hirsch, you mean?
Oh, ouch!
Hey. I can only say that because I'm never sure he's not listening.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. He will never listen to this podcast. Yeah. I mean, the one thing on Space Precinct was that police bike toy, which never appeared in the series. Did it?
That's right.
That would have been cool, but there were no kind of weird, pointless moving devices.
No. I mean, I bet someone somewhere has written a thesis on the thinking behind matching specific vehicles with specific characters from TV series. and how much thought goes into that, and how they become sort of combined in the public's imagination. You know, if I would say Inspector Morse, you think of the Jag. If I were to say Starsky and Hutch, you think of their old sort of Ford Granada with the white flash down the side.
Yeah, very true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doctor Who, Bessie, things like that. You know, there's a lot of thought there, I think, between how we attach vehicles to certain characters or TV shows.
Yeah, I like it. I somehow doubt there is a thesis out there, though, but I could be wrong.
I mean, I've got time on my hands if you want a thesis.
You've got other things to write. Don't do that.
I have.
Don't get distracted. So, Podsterons, what did you think of the Shadow personal transport device? Any good? Pointless? Glad they ditched it? Wish they'd done more with it? Wish they were racing around the ceilings like kind of crazy ski lifts around Shadow HQ or just Shadow? Let us know, podcast@gerryanderson.com. And if you know of a thesis out there where we do cover the links between characters and their vehicles, do also email us that. But I suspect it doesn't exist.
If you do, I want to see the word thesis in big capital letters followed by 2 exclamation marks in the subject line.
Okay, there you go. And if you're not sure how to email, please refer to previous podcasts and Elaine's presentation.
Yes, thank you very much.
But for now, I think that brings us to the end of this week's
Personal transport fact! Oh!
Pointless personal transport. I mean, if we combine them, that was not bad.
PPT, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, very good. Now, you are listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast. Haven't said this for a while, but whatever you do, please subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on. Do it right now. Hit like or subscribe or follow or whatever you do on your particular app. And also, if you'd be so kind, why not leave us a lovely review or a rating, or as we call them, a revating? 5 stars would be ideal, and a few lines telling the world just how much you enjoy the podcast. And then, finally, copy the link and put it on all your socials, on your Twitter feed and on your Facebook profile, so everyone knows what you're listening to. Now, some of our wonderful Podsterons have been in touch via email. For example, Stephen Watson, you mentioned last week, Jamie, you blew your own trumpet about the new Gerry Anderson website.
Well, I wasn't blowing my trumpet. I didn't make it. That was the team that made it. That was David and Callum and Chris and AC and co. They did that, not me.
Great. Well, Stephen Watson has noticed.
Oh,
hello,
thank you, Stephen Watson.
Poddermeisters. He says, a big well done to everyone involved in the design and execution of the new website. It's FAB, dynamic, and really captures the excitement and individuality of each show.
Sounds a bit like the podcast, I'd say.
What, dynamic? Okay.
Maybe.
Don't know what you've been listening to. Hi, guys, says Steve. I'm not just espousing your current podcast, but if you ever run out of ideas, then Chris could review biscuits and assess their dunkability.
Right.
Yeah, I'd listen to that. Richard could read the phone directory dramatically.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd pay for that. And Jamie, he could bring the philosophy of Parker, for example. Don't cry over spilt milk, just give it to the cat instead. Thanks from Steve.
Nice.
Okay, well, if we do ever run out of ideas, and that surely that day is just around the corner, then we'll bear those in mind.
We'll be beginning those in pod 256.
Jonathan Westall has been in touch to say, Dear Jamie, Richard, Chris and fellow Podsterons, last year I gave my UFO DVD to a friend of mine after I upgraded to the Blu-ray set. He got round to watching it last month and he really enjoyed it. Like everyone else, he wonders why they wear purple wigs on Moonbase. Over the years, I have also got my friend into the Space 1999 audio dramas, the Thunderbirds and Stingray audiobooks, and we both like watching Stingray and Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons. However, there's one Gerry Anderson show that my friend isn't very keen on, and that is Joe 90.
Oof. I thought he was going to say Space Precinct then for a second.
I lent him my DVD of it some time ago and he couldn't get past the first disc. He can't get round the idea of watching a 9-year-old boy being sent on dangerous adventures, and no matter what I say to him, he will not be convinced that it's a good show to watch. Ah, well.
Can't win them all.
Yeah, that's right. I love watching Joe 90. Sorry, Jamie, says Jonathan. My favourite episode is Colonel McLean because it has great dramatic moments and model effect sequences. I'm very much looking forward to receiving my copy of the TV soundtrack and the Project 90 Technical Operations Manual later this year. Keep up the good work, FABSIGPWOR Jonathan Westall.
FAB to you too.
Yeah. Isn't it a rather interesting one from Tabitha H?
Oh.
Well, the subject line is Dickie's Ego.
Oh, no.
So it's quite a long email, as you can imagine.
I'll sit back and relax, enjoy.
Tabitha says, greetings, Jamie, Richard and Chris. I'm a fairly new addition to the Podsteron roster, the Podder roster. if you will, as I've only been here since pod 245. So, first of all, I want to thank all of you behind the mic and behind the scenes for all your wonderful work on the podcast. I thoroughly enjoy the interviews, news, and facts that you so diligently provide for us every Monday, and quite deliberately too.
For the most part,
Yeah. I found Intergalactic Rescue 4 to be a brilliant listen, so thank you to Richard and Mr. Forrester for bringing the story to life.
Yes.
The Randomeister never fails to deliver interesting commentary, even when the show is barely Anderson-related. Looking at you, Tugs, she says.
No comment.
Yes. Now, since Jamie prompted us to attempt to repair Dickie's ego... I don't remember that at all.
No, I don't either.
Did you?
But
Okay.
clearly you're in need. In
Obviously.
desperate need.
Yeah. I would oblige, as I do have a story to tell. As I'm aware that this is the Gerry Anderson podcast, not the Richard James podcast, I will attempt to keep it short and Dickie's ego from recovering too much. So, to you, Richard, I direct this segment. Right. You ready for this?
Yeah, well, I think so, yes.
I had never seen Space Precinct, nor, truth be told, did I plan to watch it, having only ever seen various Super Marination shows. However, your many, many comments about an injustice dealt to you intrigued me. Eventually, I was worn down, so I watched an episode and read the Wikipedia page to see exactly what I had missed. I've always had a soft spot for animatronics and puppetry used in live action, so between that, lots of explosions, and some frankly bizarre plots, it is exactly my cup of tea. I just had to get my hands on a copy of it. I've not yet encountered the problematic episodes containing Enil Kamada, but if it helps, I was briefly terrified upon first seeing him, although that was mainly because I was not expecting to see more than just your chin. Thank you, Richard, for unintentionally introducing me to a show I'm enjoying, or genuinely enjoying, as much as my first viewing of Stingray, a high benchmark in my books. Also, thank you for helping to make the show as good as it was, not only through the work you did as Orin's physical form, but also as non-recurring characters such as the scary Enil Kamada and an organ-stealing Creon who smoked like a chimney that I think you were also behind. That does lead me to ask, how many characters were you behind? Am I making it up? You stole organs, or was it someone else? And if you cannot remember, I do understand that it was 29 years ago, almost there. I look forward to watching the Space Precinct documentary on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel upon my completion of the series. On the off chance it's not covered in there, was the lip-syncing a matter of mouthing over pre-recorded dialogue, Super Mario Nation style, or was it dubbed in post-production? It's actually phenomenal and barely noticeable aside from minor audio quality differences. In the case of accidentally spurring Richard into an hour-long monologue of why he should have had been the scariest monster, I apologise to Jamie and my fellow Podsterons. Should it help to put him in his place, feel free to tell him he has no dedicated Wikipedia page, while Jamie has.
Well, it's all right. It's not a competition.
I thank you for your time and apologise for the lengthy email, Tabitha. That's quite all right, Tabitha. We like lengthy emails
We
because,
do indeed.
well, they take up a bit of time, don't they?
Less for us to do. Thanks very much.
That's right. So a few questions there. Lip syncing. Now that happened afterwards. So we performed it, at live, as it were, with our own voices.
Yeah.
And then the lip syncing was done in little booths by other actors a little later on.
Do you want to give us a little blast of your Orin that you would have performed on the day?
Oh, God, I can't remember. It was 30 years ago.
Really?
It was sort of a generic American.
Okay.
I mean, I think on the DVD box set you can see an unvoiced scene that was never used in the series.
Yes.
So you will hear my voice there. And yes, I did play the organ-stealing Creon, and I was also co-Barner in Illegal, the ringmaster sort of character, another Creon.
Yeah.
We got about, us Creons. We played all sorts of different roles.
Interesting that you were so Creon-centric.
Yeah, I only ever played Creons, that's true.
Yeah, I wonder why that was.
Don't know. Don't ask me.
No. Okay.
There we are. Anyway, so all very interesting. Thank you very much for that, Tabitha, and everyone who's emailed this week. Do send them in to podcast@gerryanderson.com, and I shall endeavour to read them out next time.
Endeavour away.
Thank you.
Good. Would you like some Gerry Anderson news?
Oh, yes, please.
Good. Well, seeing as it's May Day, we'll keep it nice and relaxed. So here comes some very gentle Gerry Anderson news. Yes, it's bank holiday newsy news.
Oh, hang on, you tell me off because I'm supposed to wait for the Gerry Anderson bit before I say newsy news.
I knew you'd go in a bit, a bit Speedy Gonzales if I did that.
I can't win,
so.
can I?
Do you want to do it together now?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, go on.
Well, happy May Day.
News.
Oh. Right, back to a relaxed state. Mm-hmm. It's a bank holiday in the UK on the day of release, so it's the perfect time to head over to the YouTube channel and watch a load of free stuff. We've got free episodes and documentaries and all that stuff around there. So, and of course, that HD episode of Space Precinct, Body and Soul,
Lovely.
the one without Richard James, which is rather lovely.
I mean, that's probably why people are enjoying it quite so much, to be honest, isn't it? Lots of lovely comments beneath that video, probably because it doesn't feature me.
No, it would be even more lovely comments if you were in it, obviously. Now, as I've been alluding to for the last few weeks, we are moving to a new warehouse this month, and we hopefully will be in any time this week, and you will start to see things coming out to you quicker, which I'm very excited about. That in turn will, in a couple of weeks' time, give us a load of new options for those of you who are outside of the UK. When those are activated, we will send you an email. So if you haven't already subscribed to the Gerry Anderson newsletter, then please just search on your search engine of choice, Gerry Anderson newsletter. Sign up there, let us email you, and we will drop you a note when shipping options to your country are available. Now, we hope that as you check out, everything, all the import duties and stuff, will be calculated and paid at the time. We're using a very special system where stuff gets ferried to various airports directly and then sent using your local internal post system.
Okay.
It's very smart, very clever thing.
Yeah.
So it means that we basically have stock availability all over the world, in a relatively quick postage window and at a good price as well. So I'm hoping those of you who've been put off by high shipping prices in the past, you might be able to get some Anderson stuff onto your Andershelf, really.
Oh, great! Yeah.
So I'm rather excited about that. And now I don't know if this has been announced because we're recording a little bit in advance.
What?
So this could be an exclusive.
What?
A podcast exclusive.
What's happened?
Crispin Morell's fantastic soundtrack for Gerry Anderson A Life Uncharted is coming from Silver Screen.
Oh, wow, wonderful.
And I really love it because it's a very special thing where we've got audio clips of Dad from the archive talking about aspects of his life that introduce the track. So
great.
you get context directly from the horse's mouth.
Lovely.
And then the track. And there's some lovely ones on there. So I'm really, really pleased that that's happening. So thank you, Silver Screen, for helping make it so.
That sounds like a rather nice sort of companion piece to the documentary, doesn't it?
It is, and Ben and I wrote some extensive, I was going to say expensive, they weren't expensive at all, some extensive track notes on there.
Lovely.
So, yes, that'll be out very, very soon. Stand by for further news there. And finally...
Yes?
I made a note of this, and I've forgotten. Oh, yes, I remember now. Did you hear my lovely chat, Podsterons, with the SpyHards podcast? Oh. Well, I gave away many, many secrets from Dad's Moonraker treatment on that podcast.
Yeah.
It is now available on all good podcast platforms, including the one you're listening to us on right now, I suspect, unless you're listening directly from the website. So just search SpyHards or SpyHards Moonraker. You'll find it, and you'll find out what Dad's vision was for James Bond in the late 1960s, early 1970s.
Oh, that sounds fascinating.
It was a really fascinating chat, and I really enjoyed rereading it for the first time in years. And I also enjoyed narrating Dad and Tony Barwick's idea for the opening titles of Moonraker.
Oh, great.
Which were borderline explicit, I would say. But I can't say any more. You'll want to head over to the SpyHards podcast and have a listen there. So thank you to those guys for having me.
I mean, how did your dad feel when that didn't happen? Do you know?
Crushed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he'd heard from Harry. Was it Harry Saltzman at the time? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? The feedback they got was, "This is fantastic. We love it. It's amazing." Right. And then nothing happened, and then stuff from that seemed to appear in other films, and they got really annoyed. And I think Dad felt like this could be my big break into movies. And it wasn't. It wasn't to be. Yeah. But at least we get to hear about it now. So there we go. Yeah. Anyway, we've kind of gone slightly off track, but that still is news.
That's right. Yes.
But for now, that's the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
that was the news. Slightly off-track news.
What would you expect from the Gerry Anderson podcast, other than off-trackness?
That's right. Anyway, what else would you expect from the Gerry Anderson podcast but a visit to our Podsterons on the official Gerry Anderson podcast listeners Facebook group?
Oh, yes, please.
Right, so Stuart James Lusher, for example, posted evening Podsterons. I went to a book sale in my hometown this afternoon and I found these 2 books of Thunderbirds, so I thought I would buy them. And there we have Thunderbirds, The Perils of Penelope and The Imposters.
Nice.
Let us know what the best thing you found at a local bookstore or charity shop recently, because that'd be interesting to know. They crop up in all sorts of places. Adrian John Heath says, day off. So as it's Gerry Anderson Day morning, this is from a few weeks ago now, I'm in the snug listening to a spot of Gerry Anderson vinyl. And there he is listening to the Secret Service on rather fetching green vinyl.
Lovely.
Button Moon Hannah says, I've listened to Pod 252 and I had a smile on my face from beginning to end. I thought that it was a lovely one this week. My favourite part was the interview with Joe Jameson when he talked about what Thunderbirds meant to him during his lifetime. It brought me back to my own childhood and I was reminded of much fun that I had watching the series. I too came up with my own adventures as well. I think he had a good choice of his favourite Tracy brother. Alan is a pretty cool character and I'm into a bit of motor racing myself. Also, Thunderbird 3 is an impressive craft. Even though I was more of a Thunderbird 2 fan back then, I always wanted to see a bit more of Thunderbird 3. It sounds like he's done a good job voicing Alan and Gordon in the audio series. I really need to start listening to them soon. I still haven't done it yet. Well, what must you think of me? Despite this, though, I think Pod 252 has become one of my favourite pods, and I'm looking forward to hearing more. Thank you, Jamie, Richard and Chris, FAB.
Nice.
Isn't that nice? So Hannah has a favourite pod. Yeah, it's nice to know, isn't it?
Who else has a favourite pod? Podsterons, over to you.
Yeah.
I mean, but just to keep it simple, email us podcast@gerryanderson.com with your favourite pod in the subject line and no further comment.
No, I want to have the word favourite in capital letters and then 3 exclamation marks in the subject line, and then in the body of the email, just put the number of your favourite pod with no further comment.
And then we have to guess why.
Yeah, okay. Adrian John Heath posted some pictures of a couple of PlayStation 2 games that he found while having a tidy up. I'd completely forgotten about them, he said. That set me thinking, what other Gerry Anderson video games are there? And he's posted a picture of a Captain Scarlet PlayStation 2 game and a Thunderbirds game too, neither of which I've ever played. Meanwhile, Matt Keskivari is finally listening to the CD of Stand By for Action.
Great work.
Yeah. Lynn McKinnon says it's been almost a year since I became a Podsteron, having met my now husband, Steve Beresford, and was introduced to the wonderfully creative Super Marination genius of Gerry Anderson again. Being part of this group has helped with a very difficult year. And yes, we were the ones that, shock horror, missed a certain podcast because we got hitched.
Good reason, though.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm a Candy and Andy fan, says Lynn, a huge fan of UFO and Space 1999.
In that order?
Yeah, apparently so. And will encourage my daughter through the elements of this creativity, which has a horror or scare factor. She likes Torchy, enough said. Fellow podders, enjoy everything that is Gerry today. From Gerry Anderson Day again a few weeks ago, and Spectrum is green to go as we aim to make this available for the next generations. Well, that is absolutely our plan, isn't it?
Part of the mission, 100%.
Now, it's been a while, Jamie, hasn't it, since we had a certain quiz from Tom Hodden.
Oh,
Don't you think? So, where are we now? Pod 254?
5.
Right, even better, because it's time for a quick fire 5. Right, the exciting news, everybody, says Tom, is that you've been invited to launch an expedition into the Mongolian deserts in search of the fabled death worm. However, before we begin our search, we should probably run over the key details one last time. Question 1. Are you going to search by air in supercar or search beneath the ground by mole?
Supercar.
Oh. Number 2, how are you going to lure the worms? With Kate Kestrel's pop stylings or by covering Captain Scarlet in barbecue sauce?
Oh, Scarlet sauce, 100%.
Scarlet sauce. Number 3, there's always one, but which sidekick will inevitably stumble into quicksand? Bones or Captain Blue?
Well, if we've got Scarlet and barbecue sauce, it's got to be blue.
Sure. Number 4, oh no, the death worms are attacking. Quick, how do you make your escape? In a shadow mobile?
Well done.
Or actually, I think you'll find it's pronounced mobile. So which are you going for, a mobile or a mobile? That's the question.
Well, I'm so desperate to know what this mobile is. We'll go in that, shall we?
And number 5, it turns out that one of the expedition has a terrible secret, but who? Egads, Mitch was the Yeti all along, or blimey, Grandma Tracy is a werewolf.
Oh, Grandma, 100%.
Well done.
Suspicious
And that
eyes.
brings us to the end of a rather timely Quick 5-5 for Pod 255.
Amazing. All the fives.
All the five.
What a thrill. Actually, that wasn't too bad, because it wasn't like, who do you want to spend an evening at dinner with, Mitch or Zuni? One of those.
Oh gosh, yes, that is difficult,
Neither.
isn't it? No, quite. Yeah.
Unless they're on the
Good.
menu.
There we are, but do pop along if you're on Facebook to our official listeners group, answer a couple of questions, we'll let you in and you can join in all the fun.
Yes.
Yes.
Do that.
Yeah, do that.
Please. Now. Well, no, not now. Wait till the end of the podcast.
Wait, yeah, good to say.
So, do you want some interview? Because Ben has got another part of his interview with Lloyd Scott.
Is it Jake Lloyd? Oh.
No, sadly, Jake Lloyd is currently unavailable, but we are
Okay.
looking into his availability for a future podcast.
Sure.
For now, you'll have to make do with Lloyd Scott. Well, what can I say about Lloyd Scott? Leukemia survivor, marathon runner, and wearer of the most outrageous costumes, now including Captain Scarlet. Here is a final part of Ben's chat with Lloyd Scott.
So you've run as the Iron Giant, you've been Indiana Jones, you've been Brian the Snail, and now you're going to be an Anderson hero.
Yeah. Well, I missed out the Beatles' Yellow Submarine as well. Yeah, and Anderson. Very interestingly, I actually dropped Jamie an email a few years ago. I was thinking of perhaps trying to get a Thunderbird 1 made,
Right.
which would kind of sit on my shoulders.
Mhm.
And I would actually be the kind of flame coming out the bottom, like the jet of it as I run along. It was difficult. It was
Sure.
really, really difficult.
Did
to
you
try and get-
had you done some drawings, or were you just in the idea stage?
It's funny enough, I had a really, really good friend of mine, and the ideas that I used to come up with, he used to draw them for me. So I had some kind of concept. So I showed this drawing to the guy that made the Iron Giant and the submarine and the boulder. And the problem that we had was that Thunderbird 1 would be so long, it would rock forwards and backwards. And it was how we would actually keep it stable when I'm sort of running along, jogging up and down. So
Sure. Yeah.
But then, fate takes yet another hand. And I did, during lockdown, I did a fundraising challenge. I did the 3 Peaks challenge, which was climbing to the top of the 3 highest mountains in Scotland, England and Wales.
Wow.
Ben Nevis, Scafell Pike and Snowdon, in the deep sea diving suit.
Of course.
As you do.
As one does.
I was watching on the television and there was people, running marathons by, running around their coffee tables and doing ultra marathons by running from their front garden through their house out into the back garden and then back again. And I'm thinking, no, I can't, we've got to get out and do something, and we were very lucky that we managed to do this fundraising event.
Yeah.
With
And
3
you had the
Peaks.
face mask, so you were COVID safe in the face mask of the deep sea diving suit.
I have to say that, again, one of the funniest things, I actually did the marathon in a diving suit in New York. Did the New York Marathon. And, it's a very British kind of sense of humour sort of thing. And I think one of the ladies, a lady came up to me. I was sitting down having a rest in New York, and she came up to one of my support team, and she said, "Excuse me, but does he have a contagious disease?" They thought I'd like bird flu or something like that.
Yeah.
It was quite funny. But anyway, shortly after I did this 3 Peaks in 2020, I was experiencing having trouble swallowing, and my voice was changing, and I went for a number of checkups, and in the end, they removed quite a large tumour from my throat, very large. But they didn't know at the time. They thought it was okay at the time. And then they did a biopsy, and unfortunately, it came back as being an extremely rare form of cancer called synovial sarcoma. And then I underwent radiotherapy treatment, like several weeks of that. So that's quite grueling. And so I spent like time at home, and again faced with this, with this sort of cancer prognosis. That instinctive feeling switched on again, and I went back, But this time I didn't go back to Thunderbirds. I went back to Captain Scarlet. And it didn't strike me immediately. I can remember watching some of the episodes, and then I discovered that the 2005 one was like actually really brilliant. I mean, I just aspects of it where obviously with the original one they couldn't run, walk, dive, do all the action scenes. The other thing is with the original series, Captain Scarlet and Captain Black never actually get to meet.
Right.
But with this, they were. So they were. So there was that added element to it as well. And then, Captain Scarlet gets a halt for Destiny, and it's wow, where's this come from? It's
it's a whole other layer to the new Captain Scarlet.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it kind of dawned, well, hold on a minute, I've done this. I mean, in addition to the leukemia and the cancer, I kind of had heart arrhythmia, obviously the fractured neck from the fire brigade. I've had both my hips replaced, knee. I've had 28 operations.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, the penny kind of drops. Hold on a minute. Me and this guy have kind of got something in common. They keep blowing him up and shooting him, and then he keeps coming back. And it got into a routine that I would watch it every day, and it became a real comfort viewing for me. And it did become like a real mascot, a real, hey, you've got to do this, you've got to come back, you've got to. It's just weird the way the mind works. And again, I remember watching it, and there's Colonel White and Lieutenant Green and Captain Blue, and it became like a real family thing. It did. It just become almost that escapism and that comfort view for me. Really bizarre. I can't explain why that happened, but it did. And, it was maintained. And even when I was in hospital, I used to watch episodes of it in hospital. And there was that determination that something positive has got to come from this.
Yeah.
And the operation I had was actually, you can probably tell by the tone of my voice, it was pretty massive. I had to cut my face open, break my jaw, remove the cancer, part of my mouth and throat. Then I had to have a skin graft, I had a tracheostomy, and then things went wrong, and then I had to be rushed back in 2 days later, literally in the nick of time. While I was signing a consent form, one of the surgeons had already started removing the metal staples from my neck and throat. I mean, it was, and the funny thing is, when I went back afterwards for like my first checkup, we asked the surgeon, well, what would have happened if it wasn't successful, and the success rate was only like less than 5%, and she just shrugged, and it's like, whoa. We came out of the hospital like literally shaking. Wow. We'd come kind of that close, and so I was determined that the focus on my recovery is to try and do the London Marathon, and they actually changed the I think 10 years after I did the diving suit, I was going to do it again. And the marathon rules suddenly changed that year to the fact that you had to start and finish on the day. So I needed a costume that obviously I could get round on the day. So the obvious one, we couldn't do the Thunderbird one, but there's nothing that's going to stop me doing Captain Scarlet one. So
yeah, there you go. A perfect choice.
And again, I mean, I'd like to think that my costumes are, there's a lot of time and money that goes into them. And I looked at some Captain Scarlet outfits on the internet, and they just look like cheap Captain Scarlet fancy dress costumes on the internet.
Yeah.
And then I saw another one where somebody had made their own, and it was actually pretty good. They put the cap on their feet, but then it just looked like a bloke wearing the Captain Scarlet uniform, and I'm thinking, how do you get over this? How do you actually make it, So I contacted Anderson Entertainment and said, like, do you know of anyone that could make me like a really authentic looking suit? And they put it up on their Facebook page, and there were some lots of people making suggestions, and I got contacted by a chap called Duncan Willis, who'd actually made some licensed puppets.
Yes.
And he was wonderful. I mean, he actually provided me with the patterns that they used and molds for the cap. And I took these to a company called Plunge Creations, who they're based near Brighton. And they make the costumes for a program called The Masked Singer.
Yes.
Where they have these incredible costumes, and I said, look, we've got to do something here that I want it to look absolutely authentic. And then I took down my book, the Vault, the Captain Scarlet book. I also took down my Harrop model of Captain Scarlet.
Beautiful.
And put in there, and they worked on the costume. I mean, I think I did 3 different fittings, and come up with something really special. The other thing was, no matter how brilliant the costume was, it was still going to be a costume.
Sure.
So with St. George, we had the dragon. With Indiana Jones, we had the boulder. The Yellow Submarine, we had Sergeant Pepper. I didn't want it to be just a Captain Scarlet costume.
Right.
But I said, like, can we somehow incorporate the Mysterons with this? And they came up with this electric tubing, this lighting, luminous green. And they made 2 circles from this. And I've actually got a battery pack that goes in my back pocket. And we attached it over the flashing epaulette on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And I've also got a band that I put around my wrist. And as I move my arm, these 2 amazing fluorescent green lights actually move as well. So they're not just something that's static.
Right.
And they really give it that kind of just that extra dimension, that extra element of the Captain Scarlet costume. So
yeah, and it's very eye-catching having the Mysteron lighting with you as you run. It's a great idea.
The only thing, I mean, I went into work and I showed them a picture of the costume, and somebody went, "Oh wow, they've put your face in a Captain Scarlet." No, that's actually my costume. And then
that's a very high compliment there.
Yeah,
they thought it was just.
So we also had the makeup on. So I had a little bit of a 5 o'clock shadow, and then they did the eyebrows. Like he's quite prominent. I haven't got much of an eyebrow, but they put these prominent eyebrows on. The cap actually has a wig kind of built into it. So when I put it on, the hair comes down. It looked pretty.
It's a fantastic costume. It looks amazing.
When I looked at the picture, the only thing that we couldn't get right is that Captain Scarlet has got longer legs than I have.
Right. Lloyd, you're a perfectionist.
My legs out.
You remind me of Gerry Anderson. He would be like that. He would say there's just one thing we didn't get right. It's
not much I can do about that.
No.
I'm quite tall, but most of my height comes from my body, not my legs.
Sure.
But hey ho, that was something that we just couldn't overcome. But yeah.
But it's a great costume, and I'm hoping you raise a lot of funds through this run. When is it? When is the run itself?
It's on 23rd of April, which again is St. George's Day, but I've already done it at St. George. So
right.
I think the other thing that means a lot is that it isn't just a costume. It isn't just. You could wear any costume, an Indian chief or a Dalek, or or carry a fridge on your back or something like that. We've actually kind of been on a journey the last couple of years. It's almost been like a companion, and so the fact there is a kind of a real tie, a real story, which dates back to when I was a kid, so.
It's not just a gimmick. It's one of those things that's kept you going through a very difficult time in your life.
And there is an element. There is an actual kind of story behind it. It isn't just, the costume.
Yeah, you may not be indestructible, but you are reconstructible.
Exactly,
as you put it. And that's
I spent too much time on the cross trainer thinking about that. You can't say indestructible because you're not. But I come up with reconstructible. Yeah.
That's great. That's super encouraging to me, and I'm sure it'll be encouraging to our listeners who are whatever they're going through in life to see your example and how you've carried on. It's really impressive. Your courage is amazing. So thanks for that.
Yeah, it's. I suppose the message has gone right the way through all my fundraising, which is to encourage other people that are facing their own personal battles, cancer, leukemia, whatever kind of illness. And, there's been lots of people over the last couple of years that have done amazing things, but sadly have passed away. And I just don't want to, I want to get a message across, but I don't want to have to pass away to get that message across.
Right,
So, again, Captain Scarlet, the actual perfect, the perfect costume and model to base my message on.
The perfect example. Well, the link to support the campaign will be there in the show notes. Is there anywhere else that people can go to follow you or to track your progress or to support you?
I've got a fundraising page. There's no obligation. People want to sponsor me, that would be absolutely fantastic. It's quite simple. It's just give.as/Scarlet. So just give.as/Scarlet. And that's my fundraising page. It's actually got my kind of story and some background of stuff that's gone on that they might be interested in reading. So yeah,
that's great. Thanks for that. I know this is you said this might be your last race. Is that true?
Oh, this is yeah. I mean,
you're retiring after this.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, my big ends are knocking, definitely. The most difficult thing this time has been trying to gauge or manage my recovery whilst trying to train and make sure I'm fit enough to actually do the event. If I push too hard, which I seem to have done, I come down with a bit of a chest infection or something like that. But then obviously you can't just go, right, I'll leave it, I'll just leave it, and then you don't do the training to ensure that you can get around the course. So that's been very, very difficult. We'll find out on the day, I suppose, where I've got it right or not.
Yeah. Well, thank you for persevering and for carrying the spirit of Captain Scarlet with you as you go. We're super grateful, and we're cheering you on the whole way.
It's been lovely that when I've shown people the costume, I remember that. Even people that are younger than me. Oh, my dad used to love that as well. Like, you know, so it's I think the whole series really was underrated. I really do. I think it should have got more, kudos, I suppose, because it was so groundbreaking.
Absolutely.
At the time, and although people think, possibly it wasn't as up there with Thunderbirds, I look back at it now. There's actually more to Captain Scarlet than the Thunderbirds. There's perhaps a little bit more there to actually appreciate. But that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, SIG. Thanks so much, Lloyd. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. I really appreciate your time.
Been a pleasure. Absolute. I mean, it's been a pleasure to speak about something that I've had such a passion about for so long.
It's so great. Thanks, Lloyd.
Well, by the time you hear this, Podsteron, Lloyd should have hopefully completed his marathon.
Right.
So well done, Lloyd, SIG. Please go and support his efforts. You can still donate to the cause at ander.sn/greatscott. That's andr.sn/greatscott, all lowercase.
Nice.
What an inspirational chap.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely. Yeah.
So hopefully
Good
Jake
stuff.
Lloyd next week.
Yes, that would be fun, wouldn't it?
And then maybe Scott Lloyd, who he is.
Right.
I'll tell you who we do have an interview coming up with in the very near future.
Yes.
It's the team behind the restoration and upscale of Space Precinct.
Now that will be interesting.
Now, one of the people behind this has not one, but two Gerry Anderson names.
Oh, okay.
His name is Scott Tempest Mitchell.
I like it.
There could not be a better person to be managing the upscale of restoration of Space Precinct.
I feel like it was in safe hands.
Yeah, so Scott Tempest Mitchell and his colleague will be joining us in the next couple of weeks. So there's and many other things to look forward to too. So there we are.
Great. Now, bank holiday is upon us. I'm sure you've been spending time on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel, getting lost in upscaled episodes of Space Precinct, primers of various series, interviews, and all sorts of videos. And on our last pod 252, few pods ago now, rather. A few comments there. One from John Clay, for example, who says, good fab fact. I always wondered what happened to unfulfilled scripts. I rewatched Avalanche, Captain Scarlet, Scarlet 67 to remember how good Shane Rimmer was as a writer, and I look forward to the next podcast. We don't talk about that very often, do we?
No.
I know he wrote that episode of Scarlet. Anything else for the Gerry Anderson universe?
Sure, Shane wrote quite a few Scarlets, didn't he? And then I think he did he do some Joe 90? I think so. And then he wrote the script for The Investigator.
Okay.
And as known by the Investigator fan out there, Jack Knoll.
Yes, just the one.
There was just the one. And then even right to the end, he was writing novels, wasn't he? He wrote Long Shot, which is a golf-themed mystery, I believe. So great. Shane the writer. There you go.
Nice. A few people commenting there as well that they were dismayed that we were coming to the end of the first season of Fab Facts, but then cheered by the fact that it returned the next week.
Yes, it got an extension.
For season 2, yeah.
Was it season 2, really? Or was it? I don't know. Anyway, they keep coming.
They do. And talking of Fab Facts, on the video for Fab Facts, Space 1999 almost had a season finale. Do you know, this has had 53 comments, so it's really got people thinking, this one. Gerry made our childhood amazing with his different series. I, for one, would not change it. And that is from DAVEB6214. Catchy name.
Was that
Andrew Parkin.
Dave B 614 maybe?
Could be.
Or Darveb. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Andrew Parkin says, this sounds like a perfect season 1 episode and a great way of ending the show.
Yeah.
Such a pity it was never made. I mean, ultimately, you knew the Alphans would succeed. As with most time travel related stories, if they'd failed, the children wouldn't have been around to be taken in the first place to test the Alphans.
Exactly.
So the fact that they were available shows that the test was successful. And, oh, now I've got a headache. Either way, it sounds brilliant to me, says Andrew Parkin.
Gosh, chronic hysteresis again.
Yes, Tom Watts, surely not, says, I definitely enjoy this kind of meta twist in stories. I think the way to go with something like that would be to hint at the identity of the future civilization rather than outright state it, so that the viewers have the realization of what it means.
Yes.
So a bit more sort of ambiguity, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rob Schofield, don't forget that when production on Season 2 finished, pre-production prep for Season 3 was underway during the hiatus and was finally cancelled in late stage. Well, now I think that's a question I asked during the Fab Fact. If I recall correctly, the funds were attached, or rather snatched, to allow Lou Gray to go into film production, of which the most memorable, for all the wrong reasons, was Raise the Titanic. So that's what ultimately happened to the cash for Season 3 of Space 1999.
Yeah, I'm not sure it was directly taken from one pocket and put into another, but yeah, I think that was a bit of a change of heart.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, keep your comments coming on the YouTube channel, and I'll read out the most interesting and most polite in a future pod.
Most polite. Okay, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, good luck.
Good. Now, Chris Dale's been waiting very, very patiently today.
Yes,
don't you
I'm
think?
sorry to keep you, Chris. Yeah,
I'm sure he doesn't mind at all. I mean,
okay.
You know, it's the sort of all the rest of the podcast is really just the build-up to the randomizer anyway.
We know that. Yes,
exactly. So, well, the randomizer, for those of you who don't know, Podsterons, I mean, who doesn't know what the randomizer is? But I'm going to say it anyway. Chris Dale, the Randomeister, machine called the Randomiser, big red button, he pushes it, or somebody does, maybe Marina, and then he tells you all about it. How's that?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Good. Get randomizing, Chris.
What's happening, Stu?
Right, well, Mr. King, what's happening is, well, I'm not Stu, actually, but I would like your help with something today.
How's that?
Yes, you see that machine just to your right? All I'd like you to do is press that big red button.
Sounds crazy to me.
Oh, yes, I know it is a bit
crazy, but let's do it.
Oh, wow, weird, man. I mean, that's, like, amazing, you know? I mean, like, fantastic, yeah? Sorry.
What kind of a weekend did you have?
Weekend? Well, kind of the usual, really.
Yeah, mine too.
Right, let's see what we have today. Okay. Well, it's Lavender Castle today.
I'll settle for that one.
Well, good, because that's the one you're getting. Here's the legend.
That's it. Thanks, everyone.
Lavender Castle, a place of legend, fabled right across the universe. This is our quest to find it.
Oh, well, now, this is just lovely. We welcome back to the Randomiser Lavender Castle, and I think I said recently on the Podsterons Facebook group, it's kind of nice that the two shows I do on the Randomiser that I've never seen before, this and Torchy, are both so short because I can kind of bluff through 10 minutes. But it's also nice that they are at kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. With this, I always know this is like getting a glass of champagne as opposed to, you know, an episode of Torchy is like, I don't know, the toilet backing up or something. But this is like getting a glass of champagne. It's this nice, bubbly, happy pick-me-up for 10 minutes or so that I know I'm going to really enjoy. So, let's see what the legend has in store for us today. I hope it'll be more good stuff.
I wonder.
So Captain Thrice is reading a book called The Legend. Oh, and that's enough. We are now somewhere. We're landing on a planet with two suns. It's a bit of a deserty type place.
Why must you go away, Captain?
Well, according to the legend, Sproggle, when the two suns here eclipse once every 1,000 years, Lavender Castle can be seen in the desert.
And plus, any time away from you is always good.
Sounds like an old wives' tale to me. But Captain, if you insist on going, let me come with you.
Thank you, Isambard, but this expedition is my idea. And therefore, it is my risk.
You've got my invention with you.
Yes?
You've got lots of my inventions with you by the look of it. Yes, he's loaded with all sorts of bits and pieces.
Captain?
Oh, so it's a Captain Thrice-centric episode then, I guess.
Dad!
They're all just leaving him on this planet. Okay. Oh, yeah, they are leaving him. They're taking off. Well. And it's a really hot place by the look of it.
Oh, ouch!
Oh, even
Burning my foot!
too hot for a walking stick. Yeah, it's a lovely integration of the...
I didn't think of that.
The animatronics... Well, not animatronics. The Captain Thrice puppet there and the background and the CGI paradox.
It can't harm us, but the radio's useless till we get through it.
Where are you guys off to now? This is one of the few things I would say against Lavender Castle is sometimes stuff just happens so quick.
Castle can be sighted.
I would have thought if there's a chance of finding Lavender Castle on this planet, then it'd be all hands on deck to...
Foot again.
To gather data.
Live.
Oh no! Oh, especially if that happens, yeah, Thrice has fallen off the cliff.
Captain! Help me! Where are
Walking stick is stuck in the sand. Oh, it's a bit like old Brains in Desperate Intruder. She's up to her neck in sand. And his homing device has attracted the attention of...
What repeats itself over and over again with monotonous regularity?
you?
Someone in trouble.
Oh, that was a good joke.
We must go immediately.
You're going to rescue someone?
I'm going to capture someone.
Ooh. Yeah, it doesn't matter who. He'll find some use for them. So...
Big Stick.
Thrice seems to be all right.
Big Stick, where are you?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Big Stick.
Oh, dear. Oh, he can't hear her. The sun's beating down. It's very hot. Ah, well, there's the mammoth machine rolling out over the desert there.
The storm isn't there anymore.
And our radio's coming back to life.
Why did we go out into space in the first place? I'm still not clear. Oh. There he is. Oh, no.
Well, if it isn't Captain Thrice's walking stick.
Yes, Dr. Agon has crushed the radio.
Nothing you could do would make me tell you that.
Oh, she's so brave.
Thermoglass.
Oh.
It will remain beautifully cool.
Oh, the fiend.
Wicked!
Yes, he's put a bottle of water in front of her.
Yes. Yes.
See, this is one of the negative aspects in having sentient walking sticks, is that they do get dehydrated in the sun just like we do. Poor old Thrice is just, well, he's wandered off into the desert and fallen over. But there it is!
Please make it Lavender Castle.
But is it real or is it a mirage?
Fear it may only be a mirage.
Oh, no.
This is how it's always going to be, Thrice. You groveling at my feet. Now, where's the paradox?
You'll get nothing from me, Aegon.
Why worry about the paradox? Lavender Castle's behind you, mate. Oh, he's playing the water card again.
Delicious. Now it's your turn.
Oh, they're playing Spin the Bottle.
It's empty.
Of course it's empty. Water's far too precious to waste.
On you.
The storm? Aye, all the radio systems will go again. You'd better...
I still don't understand why we left the planet in the first place. It was an obvious accident waiting to happen, letting him go off on his own.
Are you receiving me?
I'm fine, Roger.
Ooh.
You don't sound fine to me, Captain.
Well, as...
Izzy's just sort of suddenly leapt over the controls there. It's lovely body language on these puppets.
Now, I want to...
Even when they're not talking and not really doing anything, just the way they're constantly moving and reacting to the smallest things.
Keep mine. I'll take some water to your...
But Cosgrove Hall stop-motion animation is always beautiful.
Week after next.
Oh no! What a fiendish villain! Oh, poor old walking stick. This is quite sad and serious.
Noga. Is that a Scottish expression?
I've never heard of it before.
If I may interrupt, Mr. Isambard, sir, Noga...
Having a meeting of minds.
Aegon spelt backwards.
Aboard the Paradox.
It was a coded message. Come on.
Oh, good spot. This is why we need our robot on the ship. None of the others caught that. I didn't catch that.
What do I see?
And again, I'm not sure I heard that.
He's got the captain!
Tally-ho!
Hey! Where are you looking? I can't see him. Oh, there he is. Yeah, so they've returned to the planet in the Paradox, just like they probably shouldn't have left in the first place.
Oh, come on, Sproggle.
No, let's leave him behind.
Aegon, where's Walking Stick?
Ooh, I can't tell you that until I'm back in my mammoth machine.
Have you no humanity at all?
I'm glad to say, Captain, that I don't suffer from that weakness.
Well, none of them should. There are no human characters in this show, at least none that I've encountered yet. But I understand the sentiment, and that sun is still beating down. I'm sure that's going to come into play. Lavender Castle's back, and it's pointing the way.
Lavender Castle.
Towards something.
What do I see? I see Walking Stick!
Oh, that's it, of course, Walking Stick.
On my way!
Ah, there goes CGI Leica to rescue Walking Stick. Again, that's a great example of what I meant with the way the characters interact with no dialogue there, as Roger got Dr. Aegon to raise his hands, pointing his gun at him.
Did the sun? That's how we found you.
You won't get away, Thrice. My machine is faster than yours, and it's heavily armed.
It's funny. I used this to start my engine, but I've just used it to stop yours.
Oh, he's taking a mallet to Aegon's mammoth machine.
You can't leave me here without a ship and without water!
Oh, I think they can.
Poor man. He can have mine.
Ah.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, but of course it's empty.
It's empty!
Oh no! They're actually doing it to him. Well, the Paradox crew,
Come back!
They saw Lavender Castle.
For this Thrice! Come back, you!
But they wouldn't have seen it if they hadn't got into problems through their own... yeah, well, I don't know. That was the legend. On the whole, yeah, another thoroughly enjoyable episode of Lavender Castle. More, I think, for the characters and the interactions and just the beautiful animation. I would say the story is a bit slight, which is sometimes a problem with these episodes. There's just either there's so much going on so quickly, or there's just not really enough time to get any sort of story going. This was kind of in the middle. But on the whole, I still enjoy this stuff. It's always lovely to sit down and watch a bit of Lavender Castle, because I know I'm always going to enjoy it, because it's good stuff.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Lavender Castle?
Yeah, it is. Do you know, is that now the only show that hasn't had some kind of HD treatment where all the episodes exist?
Right, okay.
Oh, maybe no Protectors, I guess, has not had a 16mm scan, but yeah.
Difficult to get hold of, I guess. Lavender Castle tied up with all sorts of...
So tricky, edited on video, CGI effects in standard definition, owned by DreamWorks as part of the Classic Media Library. It's all... You know, there's a lot of things to try and unlock and unpack and unpick there, and I think it's pretty unlikely. But then there was a time when we said there wouldn't be HD Space 36, and look now.
And that time was probably only about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but it was more than that, wasn't it? It was at least 5.
Yeah. Oh, sure, yeah. That's right. So, you'd never say never. Could happen, couldn't it?
It's possible, but don't hold your breath.
No, all right.
Don't.
Oh, I see. Don't hold your breath. Oh, God, thank goodness for that.
Yeah, that was an awkward moment, wasn't it?
Was, yes.
Do you have anything else from Podsterons that you'd like to share with us before we wrap things up?
No.
Good. In that case,
yes.
Podsterons, please do leave us revatings. One each will do. We've had a slight improvement on the number of ratings and reviews overall.
Okay.
But I think we could still do a little bit better. And I know we often say it, and you probably go, oh, yeah, they don't need me to do it. We do. If you're thinking we don't need you to do it, you're wrong. We really, really do need you.
Yeah, you're wrong. Utterly wrong, yeah.
Please, stop being wrong. Get right. And leave us a revating. You can go and do that in any app of your choice. And I'm going to read out a couple of recent ones after the end credits. So,
oh, I love that.
If you'd like to stay on to hear us praise ourselves with your words, then we'll see you after the end credits. But if not, we'll see you in pod 256.
Crikey. Yeah, see you then.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye then.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
Right, I know you're very excited about this.
I love these moments because I get to sit back and bask in our glory.
Well, stand by for glory. You ready?
Oh, yes.
This is from Troy's Left Eyebrow.
Oh, fantastic.
The title is Jolly Good Podcast.
Okay, we're doing well so far.
Earthmen. 5 stars.
Ah, great.
Excellent podcast. Highly recommended to other Underfans. But hide your wallet.
Oh.
Not because we're thieves, but because we're always talking about things that are nice. Always an interesting listen, serving fab facts, interviews, and other relevant news and information. Very interactive with their community. The hosts are an odd bunch. Joe 90's...
Is that what he says?
Yes. Joe 90's biggest fan, a bloke who loves to talk about himself, and a third guy they rarely talk to. Maybe he's kept locked in a cupboard with the randomizer machine, probably guarded by a giant radioactive koala bear with wings. Jokes aside, Jamie and Richard never fail to entertain, and Chris's randomizer has brilliant commentary plus cleverly edited introduction sketches.
Yeah,
there
nicely
you go.
done.
Isn't that
Thank
nice?
you. That is nice. It is nice. You can tell they've been listening.
Well,
they're not just making it up.
No. Well, let's see if you think the same from Angel's Blessings.
Okay.
FAB podcast, 5 stars.
Oh.
If you're looking for a light-hearted and uplifting podcast, then look somewhere. No, then look no further. It doesn't matter what mood I'm in, this podcast never fails to lift it. Listening to the 3 podcasters is like having family round and gossiping about the latest facts and news over the Gerry Anderson world, then settling down to hear an Anderson show. Love this podcast and would recommend it to all. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Angel Blessings.
I think that's really nice because I often think, actually, I think the most important thing we do beyond, bringing new content and all that sort of stuff is just giving people a bit of a feel-good factor if they're feeling a bit low. I think that's precious.
I agree.
It's nice to think that we do that sometimes.
Yeah, we can't always promise to do that, but we do try, and sometimes it happens.
Yeah, quite by accident usually.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, we hope we accidentally pleased you today, Podsterons. Right.
Nice.
Yes, shall we go away before we put our feet in it?
I enjoyed that. I'm glowing now.
Good. Me too.
Yeah. Oh, I'll go and switch the lights off then.
Yeah, turn the heating down.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.